All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jennifer Garris. I'm the president of Travel Pros, and we are so excited to have Gerard back here from Collette Vacations. We have Miss Glenda, and Glenda runs our Southern team. I'm in I would say Northeast and Southeast team, and she also has West. So we are across the country, bringing you live each week these wonderful travel shows with our different vendors, Collette being our favorite. This man here he has got the passion and the knowledge and definitely the product that's going to show you about Iceland, Norway, and the Vikings. If anybody has watched those TV shows, wow. I definitely want to be a shield maiden. I want to be Lagatha. She is one incredible woman, strong, independent, and can beat some butt to fight for her family. And so what we're trying to do here is meet people across the country, put together groups, talk about, where would you like to go, and, feed your ideas on the chat line. And let's do something together. Let's create this magical moment and create memories. So with that, I go over to Mr. Gerard.
All right. Well, thank you, Jennifer. And I just want to say thank you to you and Glenda for your help with putting together these travel shows. These have been really wonderful presentations and very informational for all of our guests. And I got a lot of good compliments earlier, and I really appreciate the good feedback here. So thank you all who joined us this evening on this call, wherever you are. My name's Gerard Welch, and I'm actually the local business development manager with Collette. And when I say local, I live in Virginia as well. If you look kind of behind me, I usually have a bunch of travel stuff, but I'm actually in the process of moving. So I apologize if the blank white space in the background, there's some boxes, but I have been with Collette for 6 years, and I've been on 4 different continents. So I'd probably be a wealth of resource of knowledge for you. So feel free to pick Jennifer, Glenda, or my brain at the end of this presentation, and we'll do our best to answer any and all questions. So before I dive into it, I just wanted to briefly kind of go over Collette and some of our history and what's included. So Collette is one of the oldest, if not the oldest, still ongoing tour operator in the United States. We're going on 103 years of service, and we had originally offices in Australia and England, but with COVID, we had to kind of condense offices due to the lack of numbers. But now travel is picking back up, and we're really excited for all of you to go back in the world, as we are all ready to get back going into the world as well. So on this slide here, I have just kind of a brief synopsis of what's typically included on a Collette vacation package. And if you get a chance, I know most of you are probably at a computer, go ahead and go to gocollette.com. You can kind of see all of our packages and our tours there. But if by chance you do have a brochure in front of you too, I'm just going to hold one up to the screen. All of our brochures have all the details, including the hotel accommodations, what meals are included, and single, double occupancy, and a map of where we're going, what we're doing. But essentially, we are an escorted tour operator. So we're going to have a professional tour guide with you at the beginning of the program. They're going to stay at the same hotels as all of you. They'll pass out their contact information, and they're just a wealth of knowledge. And they're going to be with you out the whole entire trip from the beginning until the end, and they're just really amazing people. And also, we will have a private driver that's with us that's separate from the tour guide. I know there are some other operators out there where the guide is the driver as well, and that's not the case with us. They're two separate people, and they'll focus on doing their individual programs or their jobs. But sit back, relax. We want to make sure that we take care of all the details on any one of our destinations that you so choose. Now, one of the great advantages with traveling with a Collette tour is that whenever you fly with us, we have a transportation package that's part of that adventure, and part of that transportation package is our private sedan service. So as long as you live, let's say, within 75 miles of a major airport, we'll be able to send a private sedan directly to your home to pick you up and take you to and from the airport, which is an amazing service, right? You don't have to worry about leaving your car in a parking garage and paying what, 10, 20, $30 out of pocket per day in a parking garage. We're going to handle that service from you for you from the beginning as well as at the end of the program. And also, if you're just like, I know I've done these presentations with travel pros before, and I think a couple times we've had like some bigger groups on these webinars. If you are a person that has like a bigger group of people, let's say over 10 people that wants to travel with us, we'll do the same service. We'll send a larger vehicle to a centrally located area and pick everybody up. And that mile radius goes up to 400 miles from the airport. So it's quite extensive if you're interested in that. So you can personalize your tour however you so wish. We get a lot of guests who want to upgrade their airfare to premium economy, to business class, first class. We can look into that for you. There's a variety of different options that are typically available on the tour. I will say, as a kind of a standard across all of our programs, which we have about 160, we have probably about 3 to 4 different options per tour. We really don't want to inundate you with so many options where you feel like you're being nickeled and dimed, but we want to also give you an opportunity to do a different variety of different optional excursions. Likewise, if you want to arrive a day early or stay a day later, just let Jennifer or Glenda know. We can make those arrangements for you, including the door-to-door service or that hometown pickup that I mentioned earlier. So let's dive into our first destination. And this is really one I'm really kind of excited to talk to you about, because it's a newer program that we introduced just before COVID, about a year and a half before. And I know we have a lot of people who are listening to this call. They're interested in going to the Northern Lights, but they might have questions on when's the best time to see the Northern Lights. You know, I'm interested in going to Iceland to see the Northern Lights, but let me just tell you, like, Finland's also a great alternative than going to Iceland to see the Northern Lights. In fact, you won't, I'd encourage you even more to go to Finland, is that there's not going to be as many Americans flooding over into Finland as there in going over to Iceland. So, you know, Iceland's just a really beautiful country. I think it ranks as one of the happiest people on this planet. And this program is just a ton of fun. And it's definitely, if I had to put a word to it, an adventure, because just look at the photos here. Like, we're going to do a reindeer riding lesson with our guests. In fact, we do like a reindeer ride where we pick the guests up from their homes or their igloos here that you can see here, or their log cabins, and we take them over to St. Nicholas's home. And St. Nicholas comes out with like milk and cookies for the guests. Speaking about the igloos, so like, we initially stay in log cabins, and you can upgrade your log cabins into an igloo. And there's 2 different styles of igloos you can stay in, but one of the styles is like, you can lay in your bed and you have that glass dome ahead of you, and you can see the Northern Lights at nighttime from your bed. You know, how cool is that? And every single igloo and log cabin comes with a sauna. And when we're out and about doing our touring and visiting the country, the guests, the caretakers of the place, they come into the homes and they get the sauna going. So when you come back home from the cold wilderness, you'll get that nice warmth from the sauna. And yeah, as I said, it's really an adventure. This program is something unique. You definitely want to go. And just to bring up, when is the best time to see the Northern Lights, right? This is when a lot of people want to go up here. When is the best time to see the Northern Lights? Well, Northern Light season begins from August until March, technically April. But the best time to see the Northern Lights is going to be, in my opinion, going to be November, December, and January, and early February. Why is that, Gerard? Well, it's the darkest months. Really, you want to go when there's not a lot of light, right? You want to take a look at the lunar calendar. That's very important, because I like to call it God's flashlight. You know, God's just putting a little flashlight on Earth. And if it's a full moon, you can't really see the Northern Lights. So you want to go when it's dark, when it's not a full moon, there's not a lot of cloud coverage. And those are going to be the best times, November, December, and January. It's also the coldest months, but you kind of have to assume that it's going to be cold when you're going up to this region. So as you can see here, we're going to head into Helsinki. We'll have a city tour of Helsinki for 2 days. Then we're going to take a little short flight up into the Lapland area. That is what I would consider or most relatable to like a state in the United States. And we'll stay in Kakslotinen for a few different evenings. We'll even get to meet some of the Sami people in relation to the US. Those are like what I would consider like First Nation or Native Americans of Finland. And their traditions are still upheld for like hundreds of years, you know. So you'll see the beautiful colors that they wear with the red and the blues. And a lot of them do get a lot of their money from like reindeer farms, which is a common activity to go up there. But here's just a shot of like the log cabins and the places that we stay there. And it's really just a blast. You know, this is definitely an adventure for our guests. Here's one of the upgraded cabins with kind of that dome or like kind of that igloo on the side here. I mentioned that earlier. If you're interested in this, just talk to Jennifer or Glenda. We can get the details for you, the cost associated with that upgrade too. And here's just another shot of just like the sauna here that people are getting warmed up here. So sauna is very Scandinavian. It's very common in these areas. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if most hotels don't even have like a spa or a sauna inside them where you're visiting. It's a very tradition whenever you visit the Nordic countries. So now we're going to head over into some of the other programs that we have to offer, including Norway, Denmark, Sweden, as well as Iceland. And I had to look up myself exactly what is considered Scandinavia. And I guess it's kind of subjective, you know, because there's some islands and even Iceland, is that considered part of Scandinavia or is that not? But for the sakes of this conversation, I'm going to consider that part of Scandinavia. So if you've never been into this area, I'd recommend the Spectacular Scandinavia program. This one is a little bit longer, but that's a-okay. We do get to see some highlights such as Oslo, which is, I believe, the capital of Norway. It also played a pivotal role in gastronomy, especially modern day gastronomy. And a lot of the Norse Viking sagas, they came from Oslo. And you'll learn about that when we go on a city tour. We'll also take over to Copenhagen. Copenhagen is a really beautiful city. And the word, the best describe it is cosmopolitan. It's a very cultural hub, very hodgepodge, mixed people. You have world-class chefs, inspiring architects, international designers. It's a huge hub for trade along the northern coast there. And, you know, Jennifer had mentioned a Netflix, and I'm going to give you something too. Go ahead and go on Netflix when you get a chance and take a look at a show called The Mind of a Chef. And I believe it might be season 1, but they actually focus on a chef that lives in Copenhagen, and he uses local ingredients that are grown in the natural earth for his like Michelin star restaurant. And it's really a beautiful series I'd recommend for you. It's called The Mind of a Chef in Copenhagen. We'll also take you over to Stockholm. Stockholm is it is on one of the 14 islands that's woven on the southern edge of Sweden. And when you look at Sweden, when you look at a map of it, there's going to be a variety of different islands with a variety of different bridges, a variety of different shapes and sizes that connects them all. And we'll take you into the Old Town area. And Stockholm was really more well known for, you're probably familiar with it, but the Nobel Peace Prize, this is where it's given and originated from. And we'll get to learn about that. One of the cool features whenever you're traveling around the world is diving into the local cultures. I'm all about learning about the local people, how they live, their heritage, and we're going to take you over to a small little village called Flom, and this lies right in the southwestern portion of Norway. And when I say small, it has less than 500 residents year-round that live here. And look how beautiful the area they live in. It's like right in the middle of like the glacier fjord area, the mountains and the valleys here. So we'll get some great shots of the scenery and get to learn about some of the people that are here. We're also going to take you over to Bergen. Bergen is definitely more of a larger city, and it's also known as the city of the seven mountains because it does sit within a fairly large mountainous area. And Bergen does play a very pivotal role in human history, especially during World War II, because this is where a lot of the aircraft would land to refuel. And if anyone's a World War II historian here, and I could be totally wrong on this, but to my knowledge, when the Americans and the Brits were invading over into the coast of Normandy, they actually sent a fake message on the telecoms to the Germans that they were coming in from Bergen and not from from Normandy. So a little World War II history for you. And then, of course, whenever you're visiting in this area, you want to see the beautiful fjords. And my God, are they beautiful, the different valleys. One of the programs I'm going to show you here, we actually do a cruise right along the coast here where we see like hundreds of fjords. It's actually quite gorgeous. And I think even the old king, I've seen like a documentary of the king of Norway. He takes this cruise whenever he's traveling along the coast here. So once again, here's just a screenshot of like where we're going, where we're going to see. So we'll be able to uncover why Copenhagen is dubbed the gastro capital of Scandinavia. Remember, I talked a little bit about the food that comes from the region. We'll learn the Swedish tradition of glass blowing from Glass Works Factory. We'll also be able to go on a panoramic tour of all the major cities here. A lot of the history dates back, a lot of the architecture dates back during the 14th century, as including the 17th century. If you look between Stockholm and Oslo, you'll see a little dotted line. That dotted line is actually a train ride. So we're going to do a little train ride on the Flam Railway. And I think it's actually one of the steepest train rides on the planet. So hold your seats there when you're traveling. But you'll get some really amazing shot of the valleys, the fjords, the waterfalls as we're traversing through the countryside here. And we'll also be able to learn about why this area is a huge trading port. Also, you'll see that dotted line that goes from Bergen all the way over to Reykjavik. That is a post-tour extension, so that happens after the tour is over. And if you want to go over to Iceland, it's a very common destination for a lot of guests. They want to kind of extend their tour a little bit while you're in Europe. But just some quick highlights. The Vasa Ship Museum, you can actually see one of the original Viking ships inside the museum. We'll head over to the Bergen Stav Church, which was erected in 1180. One of the interesting things to bring it back over into Netflix again, because I recently watched a show called Ragnarok, and Ragnarok focuses on the gods of this region. And a lot of the buildings that the hosts live in, it's actually very similar to the style of the Bergen Stav Church. So really interesting. And then there's a shot of that train ride right on the far right there. So our next destination, or the next program I wanted to show you, is the Norwegian coastal voyage and the Scandinavian capital. So this one, if you're interested in doing like a cruise, this is going to be on the Hurtigruten. And Hurtigruten is really interesting history. I'll talk a little bit about that. So here's just a shot of the map and where we're going, and we're going to board our ship into Bergen. So Hurtigruten originally were these fishing vessels that more or less, they fish along the coast of the Nordic coastline. They even went down to off the southwestern half of South America to Antarctica to fish. And then I want to say around like the 1970s and 1980s, they started to look into tourism, and they converted a lot of their ships into tourism. But one of the cool features about the Hurtigruten ships when you're on this particular program is all the fish that you eat, all the seafood that you eat on board is caught the same day of them going out to voyage. So how cool is that, right? You're going to get some fresh seafood, and all the floors of every room that you're in are heated too, so you can walk around barefoot. And it's just a really amazing, unique way to explore along the coast. So we will, obviously you can see here, we're going to stop in Stockholm. We'll learn about the history of Stockholm. We'll get a city tour. We'll spend some time in Denmark, where we're going to learn a little bit about not Denmark. We're spend some time in Stockholm, and then we're going to head over into Oslo. By the way, that is a pre-tour extension, much like we had a post-tour extension to go over to Iceland. And really, you're just going to get some of the fjords that we saw. You're probably going to get a lot more fjords on this one because of the coastline that we had down on, but it's a little bit of a different style that we saw earlier here. And one of the things too that we learn about on this particular program too is the Hanseatic League. So for anybody who's like note takers on here, I definitely would look that up, because it did play a prominent history, and it was a powerful guild in along the northern half of Europe, because this is where all the trade happened along the coastline. And it went all the way up to like Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia, as well as northern aspects of Germany too. But the Hanseatic League is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. But once again, it's a really beautiful area if you're interested in doing not just the land portion, but a cruise portion. So now I'm going to take you over to our next area to visit, and this is going to be Iceland. So Iceland is hands down, or whatever you want to say, is the #1 destination for Americans to visit over the past probably like 4 years. I'm not sure why that is. I've heard it was on TV. The Bachelorette or The Bachelor. I heard it was on TV one time, and then it just kind of catch fire from there. But Iceland's a really beautiful country if you've never been. For those that live on the East Coast, it's only like a 5-hour flight there, so it's an easy flight there. I believe Reykjavik. I have a photo here of it. It received an award of literature as a city of literature, and the history of Reykjavik, or the history of just Iceland in general, dates back over 2,000 years ago. And one of the first parliaments known into existence in human history came from Iceland too. So it boasts just wonderful knowledge, wonderful history. If you're a person that's into like hiking, you're into like going to like, I'll give you an example, like Costa Rica or Galapagos Islands, you're into that natural environment, the fjords that I just talked about. Iceland has that. I mean, there's lava walkways, there's cruising along the coast to see whale watching. If you're a big bird watcher, there's puffins. And if you go to Iceland during the summertime, there is a rare duck that comes there right along Lake Mývatn, which is in the northeastern portion of Iceland. We'll be able to see the Golden Circle. Here's Vik. And Iceland's really converting into becoming a lot more green dominant, or green energy. And you'll learn about how they use geothermal energy to grow like crops here. And we actually take you to a facility to show you that. So we'll dip our toes in the Blue Lagoon. Every guest likes to have that on their bucket list. And we'll also take you over to Vatnajökull National Park, which I believe is the largest national park in all of Europe, and also hosts one of the largest glaciers in all of Europe, which takes up like 8% of the country. Fun little fact for you. So Iceland, you can really go. I find a lot of guests go to Iceland not once, but they go twice, because you really got to go twice. If you're going to go during the summertime, this is the summer program. This is Iceland Land of Fire and Ice. And as you can see, we're going to head into Vik. We do the Golden Circle. The Golden Circle basically encompasses just a little bit north of Reykjavik, the Gullfoss waterfall, the geyser, all the way down to the coastline. It's about 120 miles. And this also would take you over to Stykkishólmur. And if you see that blue dotted line, that's actually a whale watching cruise. And it's very regulated. So like all the cruise ships, or all the ships that go out for whale watching, they have to follow a certain route. And also, if you're a big like Game of Thrones fan, and little fun fact for you, but when they go across that wall and they see that big mountain in the background, this is a huge filming location for Game of Thrones, and that's where that mountain beyond the wall is, in Stykkishólmur. So you'll get some great shots of that and knock that off your bucket list. And Vik is really a great place to visit, because we get away from the major city of Reykjavik, and when we go to Vik is very much like Flam. It's a small little village, and one of the cool features about when we head into Vik is we get to engage with some of the locals who talk about what life is like living here. And more importantly, remember that volcano that erupted, I don't know when it was, like 2011 or something around that time? Well, we're going to engage with some of the people who were around when that volcano erupted. It shut down all of Europe. Like every flight that was around Europe, they couldn't fly because the smog was so bad. And we'll learn about that adventure from the people that live there. So just some quick highlights. We'll cruise along Jökulárlón Glacier Lagoon. You'll try 1,000-year-old ice. We'll chip off a little bit, put it in a little cup for you. The food in Iceland is very unique. I wouldn't say they're huge in terms of gastronomy. Very different than Copenhagen and Denmark. They're more like, if you want to try something that's a little bit more exotic. Hakar is like shark, and we give you guys a little tidbit, but it's like fermented shark. It's a tradition in Iceland. If you can have it in your mouth more than 10 seconds, I'll buy you dinner, because usually I get a lot of guests who put it in their mouth and it lasts like 2 seconds, and it's so pungent. Also, we'll get to learn a little bit about the greenhouse energy, the local cheeses that are made here, and just like the local vegetation. So really a fun tour. And once again, if you're going to Iceland, go to the Northern Lights season, and also go there during the summer months, because that's when all the animal life's about. That's when the puffins are migrating and mating, and you get some great shots. But Iceland's Northern Lights, much like Finland, Northern Light season is around the fall solstice, or the fall solstice, and you can actually see the Northern Lights, I would say, like beginning of September, but that's a little bit of a risk. I've had difficulties with that just because sunlight is just still kind of very prominent. But once again, I'd recommend going in like December, January, February. Sunrise is about 10:30, sunset's about 4:10, and also take a look at cloud coverage, because typically Iceland gets about 70% cloud coverage whenever you're visiting. But once again, you know, it's a great place to visit for the Northern Lights, and it's a different aspect than going through the summer. And obviously you can see we take you over to a lava exhibition center, Seilansfoss waterfall, so we get to see that hidden treasure that's behind the waterfall, the famous geyser. We'll learn about the Vikings that came here. I believe there's like an imposing Eric the Red statue, and Eric the Red was Leif Erikson's father, and I'm sure most of us know Christopher Columbus, which I'm kind of confused why we celebrate Christopher Columbus Day, because Leif Erikson technically was one of the first European explorers before Christopher Columbus into what we consider North America, or in the Americas. So once again, dip your toes into the hot springs. You do a little hiking. It's really an adventure whenever you're going to Iceland. So I wanted to keep this presentation a little bit briefer than some of the others. Usually I have like lots of different like photos of guests traveling, but do yourself a favor. Go to gocollette.com and type in some of these great tours in the search box. And we post all of our Instagram photos of our travelers going on these trips, so you can see what life is like there just from a real person who's traveled and been a guest on our trips. So I'm coming to the end of our presentation, and I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for jumping on here. As you can tell, I love talking about travel, and I love going over to many places in the world. And we do have a special offer for all of you that does end July 1st, so it's only for 2 weeks only. So contact Jennifer, contact Glenda. I gave them an offer code, and whenever you book on one of our trips, make sure you get that offer code, because it will give you $150 off the land. You get $100 off any of the extensions that we talked about, back-to-back tours, $100. If you want to upgrade your air, there's a variety of different air discounts too. And I don't know if anyone hopped on here earlier, but I was talking about how some of the air is kind of cheap right now to travel, because these airlines want to get guests back traveling the world. So combine that with the savings, combine this with our offer, and any other offers that we have in the market, it's combinable too. So I want to thank you all. I'm going to hand it back over to Jennifer to wrap it up for us.
Oh, well, thank you. Again, every single time you're on, I'm like, can I book now? And one of the great things about it is, even if you travel this year or next year, you know, the deposit on it is small, and then your balance isn't due, I think, until 60 days before you travel. Your deposit is refundable up until that time. So if you're still planning, or you wanted to put a group together, you know, we can actually do one of these presentations specifically for you and your group. And, you know, you do get other amenities for that. As far as Collette goes, one of the other things I love about it, he mentioned Game of Thrones, and you take any of the big mini series or big TV shows and you look at them. Like I used to want, when I went to Britain and Paris, I watched the Tudors before I went. And then I wanted to watch everything I could possibly do in the movies and wherever I would travel. When I went to Italy, I read Da Vinci Code and of course watched the movie. So that way I got to see in my mind not only what was written or what's on those shows, but now I get to go visit them. And I take the experience, you know, especially the national parks, and Yellowstone is a huge TV series right now. I just think that it's perfect because everybody wants to now go to South Dakota, you know, and visit, you know, the cowboys and try that ranch experience. So I love when you were bringing up the Vikings and Ragnarok. I watched that series too. And oh my gosh, the views. It's just amazing how clean everything is. And if anybody here, you know, has a favorite TV show like that, check out Colette's page. And I guarantee you're going to find a tour that's going to follow usually in those same track as what they do on those TV shows. And you get to eat the food, you get to stay in a castle. I mean, it's just amazing. So, and I always have to talk about our Thursday shows. Every Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do have a different vendor that comes on. Next week, it's Moorings, which is private yachts and sailboats, and Paul Gauguin cruise ships. That's going to take you around Tahiti. People ask me, it's like, how can we afford going on these vacations? And honestly, there is different ways. You can open up a savings account. I'm working on some cryptocurrency with Gallant Token, and I know that they're coming up with a vacation plan. So that way you can help save money to apply your deposits and final payments. So that's a way. And also airline sky miles. If you do Delta or American, you can start earning points for your plane tickets. So all of those kinds of tricks, we would love to share them with you. Our service is free. We get paid by the tour companies. So we just really enjoy building those relationships with people. And then we're with you from the very beginning until you get home. And then hopefully we're on to planning something else for you to do. So if you'd like to visit our website, it's gotravelpros.com. And then our events page is /events. We also have a meetup group. Travel Around the World is our meetup group. And we have Facebook groups. One is called the Faces of Travel. Face is F.A.C.E.S. So it's food, activities, alcohol, culture, events, and sports. So we hope to see you again. And please subscribe to our YouTube page. That's where we're going to have all these videos left for you to watch. All right. You have a great evening. And thank you again.
Thank you, everybody.